What is up, friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be playing some Titanfall 2, so let's get right on into it. And today is going to be the second episode of Austin's story time and the continuation of the story of my experience at my local bar's Halloween party. And I honestly don't remember where I left off in the last video, so I'm just going to start off at the most interesting event that happened during that night. And that involves my buddy deciding he needed to go to the bathroom, which is a pretty normal thing to do when you're at a bar. You're drinking a lot, sometimes you gotta go pee. So he goes to the bathroom, and then I'm thinking to myself, you know what, I also have to go to the bathroom. So I check the other two bathrooms that are on the other side of the bar. They are being used. So I go over to the bathroom that he's at, hoping he might be done and I can take a piss. And it turns out that he was holding up a huge old line at that bathroom, and there was a bunch of people, a lot of people actually, that were very angry that they were having to wait. And the person at the very front of that line was, let's say, a very heavy-set fellow with a big old cowboy hat, and this guy was probably twice my age and definitely twice my weight. And this guy was twice as intoxicated as I was and twice as angry. And that is a bad combination. And so when my buddy opened that door, I was so sure that this guy was going to clock him in the face. He looked ready, I could just tell, and I was ready to throw some hands, let's just say. And when my buddy opened that door, to my surprise, they actually ended up knowing each other. Apparently, my buddy's dad knew this guy, or they had some type of connection, and they knew each other, and they had a conversation. But before that actually happened, this guy decided he needed to let his rage out. It had been building up, and he can't punch my buddy in the face. So what he does is turn to his left and punch a big old hole in the drywall next to him, just like a Kyle, except without the monster energy. And this guy ended up making a big old fist-sized hole in the wall at that bar that is still there to this day. I don't think they're ever going to repair that hole. They just took a thumbtack and a piece of paper and just covered it up. And it's always a good story to tell somebody who wasn't at that party when I'm at that bar and just show them the hole, because they don't believe me that they actually didn't repair that hole. And I told my buddy, who I mentioned in the other video, who's a bartender there, like, look, there's a hole back there, you guys should probably fix it. And they're like, nah, it's good, man, just leave it how it is, which is super funny to me. And so that is the first punch of the night. The second punch being the much more interesting punch in my eyes, because I was actually involved in that. Unfortunately, I was on the receiving end of that punch. And how that all happened was later in the night. The night was coming to an end. We had a good old time watching the burlesque dancers. They had their finale. It was awesome. I had tons of conversations, completely inaudible conversations with people because it was so loud. I had no idea what half the people who were talking to me were saying. It was basically just me, you know, responding with a generalized response like, okay, or wow, or thanks, or I can't believe that happened, or something like that, and hoping that they either couldn't hear me too, or it actually applied to what they just said to me. And I think I actually got a couple free beers because people were just coming up to me and were like, yeah, you know, I saw your YouTube channel and I enjoyed it and I want to buy you a beer, surprisingly enough. And I didn't even know they were going to buy me a beer until the beer showed up and they were already gone because I couldn't hear a word that they were saying. But anyways, the night was coming to an end. It was about 3 a.m. and my buddy and I walk out the back, and he walks, you know, totally fine. He seems totally sober until the next moment, which is pretty common with alcoholics. You know, one drop too much and, you know, the whole barrel overflows. And so we're out in the parking lot and he just decides this little patch of concrete is going to be where he's going to sleep for tonight. And looking back, I wish I had just left him there, but too bad. I'm a good friend and I'm a good guy, and I said to myself, I'm getting this guy home no matter what it takes. And so I stand there for quite a while. I think I took a call or something like that and talked to somebody and was like, yeah, look, you just pass it on the floor, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Until somebody passed by and he was like, I'll help you out. And it turns out that that guy was friends with another guy who was there that night who I had known from high school, and he was like, yeah, I'll help you out. I could probably say this guy's name. His name was Justin. I actually don't even know his last name, but definitely thank you to him. I don't think I've seen him since then, but thank you, and I'm sorry that it ended up the way that it did. And so he gets my buddy back to my truck, but how he does that is by instigating a little old brawl with him, a little old playful brawl, kind of like, you know, 1800s fisticuffs, if you can imagine that. And my buddy takes this very seriously. He's blackout drunk, he doesn't know what's going on, and I think he thought that this guy was actually trying to square up with him. So eventually it turned into wrestling, and then wrestling led to something else, and Justin ended up getting a bloody nose. And that's when Justin's girlfriend walked up, and she was like, alright, we need to break this up. And I probably should have broken it up earlier, but I generally just wasn't thinking, and I just thought that this was a lot more playful than it was. And so I let it play out a lot longer than it probably should have. And well, at least I got my buddy back to my truck, and I got him in the passenger seat. And then I decided, well, you know, it's a good idea. I don't want to take him home totally blackout drunk. I'm going to go down to Jack in the Box. I'm going to get him some food. We're going to sober him up, and then we're going to get him home. Which was another big mistake of mine, because as I was entering the Jack in the Box parking lot, he decided it was a good idea to just clock back and hit me in the forehead. And honestly, I'm not so mad about that. I'm mad that he hit my rearview mirror, because I've never been able to get it quite centered as perfect as it was before. And he also messed up my air freshener, which was a very special air freshener. It was Matt Carricker from Off the Ranch riding a shark, and I love that thing, and he messed it up. It's all bent now, so that was a bummer. But anyways, he didn't really have enough room to clock back fully and hit me in the face, so it wasn't that bad, and I was mainly just more mad. I said, look, if you're going to do that again, then I'm going to drop you off on the freeway and you can find your own way home. And so I get him home, I make sure he gets inside, and that, my friends, is my story of the Halloween party. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, night, evening, whatever it may be for you. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.